In the rugged hills of ancient Macedonia, under a sky that seemed to promise greatness, a boy was born on a hot summer day in July 356 BC. His name was Alexander, son of the fierce warrior king Philip II and the ambitious queen Olympias, who whispered to him from the cradle that he carried the blood of heroes and even gods. The very day he entered the world, messengers brought news to his father. Philip had just captured the city of Potidaea. His horses had won at the Olympic Games, and far away in Ephesus, the great temple of Artemis had burned to the ground. People said the goddess herself had left her temple to attend the birth of this child who was destined to shake the world. From his earliest years, Alexander was no ordinary prince. He grew up riding, hunting, and fighting with the tough Macedonian boys. But his mother filled his head with tales of Achilles and Heracles, while his father showed him the art of war. At just 12 years old, a wild, untamable stallion was brought before the court. A massive black horse with a white blaze shaped like an ox head, so fierce that no one could mount it. The animal shied away from its own shadow. Young Alexander noticed this, turned the horse toward the sun so the shadow fell behind, spoke gently to it, and then leaped onto its back. The horse bucked and reared, but Alexander held firm, riding it triumphantly across the field. King Philip, tears in his eyes, said, "My son, you must find a kingdom big enough for yourself. Macedonia is too small for you." He bought the horse for 13 talents and named it Bucephalus, ox head. That same horse would carry Alexander into every battle until the very edge of the known world. When Alexander turned 13, Philip sent for the greatest mind in Greece, the philosopher Aristotle. For 3 years, in the peaceful gardens of Mysa, Aristotle taught the boy medicine, philosophy, science, poetry, and the ways of the world. Alexander memorized entire passages of Homer's Iliad, carrying a special copy annotated by Aristotle with him for the rest of his life. He learned to question everything, yet deep inside he burned with the desire to conquer. His closest friends from those days, Hephaestion, Ptolemy, and others, would become his most loyal generals, bound to him like brothers. At 16, while his father was away fighting, Alexander was left as regent. When the Thracian tribe called the Magi rebelled, the young prince marched, crushed them, and founded his first city, Alexandropolis. 2 years later, at the Battle of Chaeronea in 338 BC, 18-year-old Alexander commanded the left wing of the Macedonian army. He led a devastating charge that shattered the famous Sacred Band of Thebes, the elite unit of 150 pairs of lovers who had never been defeated. That victory brought all of Greece under Philip's control through the League of Corinth, and Alexander was named the future leader of the planned invasion of Persia. But cracks were forming at home. When Philip took a new young wife named Cleopatra, and her uncle Attalus publicly prayed for a legitimate heir, Alexander threw a cup at the man and shouted, "Am I a bastard then?" Philip drew his sword in rage, but stumbled. Alexander fled with his mother to Epirus, then to Illyria. Months later they reconciled, but the damage was done. Then, in October 336 BC, during the wedding celebrations of his daughter in the old capital of Aegae, Philip was stabbed to death by his own bodyguard, Pausanias. The assassin was cut down immediately, but whispers spread. Some said Olympias and Alexander had known. At 20 years old, Alexander was proclaimed king by the army. He moved like lightning. He executed rivals, spared his half-brother who was mentally disabled, and crushed any sign of revolt. When Thebes rebelled, believing rumors that Alexander was dead, he marched 240 miles in just 14 days, stormed the city, killed 6,000 people, and sold 30,000 into slavery. The rest of Greece was stunned into silence. Only then did he turn east. In the spring of 334 BC, Alexander crossed the Hellespont with an army of about 43,000 infantry and 5,500 cavalry, Macedonians, Greek allies, and mercenaries. Before stepping onto Asian soil, he hurled his spear into the ground and declared the continent his by the will of the gods. He visited the ruins of Troy, poured oil on Achilles' grave, and took the ancient armor from the temple, carrying it as his own. The first clash came at the Granicus River in May. Persian satraps had gathered a large force on the far bank. Alexander led a daring cavalry charge across the river under a hail of javelins, fighting hand-to-hand in the water. The Persian line broke. He lost fewer than 150 men. The enemy lost thousands, including many Greek mercenaries who were slaughtered or chained and sent back to Macedonia in disgrace. City after city opened its gates. He freed the Greek cities of Asia Minor, restored democracies, and appointed local rulers who would stay loyal. At Gordium, he faced the famous knot that no one could untie. Legend said whoever undid it would rule Asia. Alexander simply drew his sword and cut it in two. The army cheered. With one bold stroke of his sword, Alexander cut through the impossible. The Gordian Knot lay in pieces at his feet. The ancient prophecy echoed across the plain. Whoever untied it would rule all of Asia. He didn't untie it. He shattered it. At just 22 years old, the boy who once tamed a wild horse had already bent fate itself to his will. Cities opened their gates in awe. Omens bowed before him, and the mighty Persian Empire, the greatest power the world had ever known, now waited, trembling on the horizon. But this was only the dawn of his legend. The real battles, the sieges that would break empires, the deserts that would test his soul, all of that was yet to come. This is the rise of Alexander the Great, Part 1. If this story of unbreakable ambition and divine destiny fired you up, hit that like button if Alexander's courage inspires you. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that nothing is impossible, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss Part 2, where the true storm begins. Comment below. Would you have cut the knot or tried to untie it? See you in Part 2, warriors. Alexander out.